Good to see you all again. Hope you are doing well. Got a good story for you coming up today. It is gonna be a little bit of a mixture of the funny and the spooky. For anyone out there who's ever had sleep paralysis, this might hit a little closer to home. It's gonna be yet another multi-part series, so buckle up. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead, sit back, relax, and enjoy with your favorite drink and maybe a little snack. My first memory of sleep paralysis happened when I was 10 years old. I remember because it was the night my parents took me to see Shrek 2 for getting good marks on my report card. It was an evening show, so we got in late and my mom tucked me straight into bed when we got home. It was around 4 a.m. when I woke up. The light from my alarm clock told me that much. I couldn't feel anything, not my pajamas against my skin or the warmth of my head against the pillow. I could feel my arms and legs, but they felt heavy, as if a great weight was holding them down. I tried to call out, but I couldn't. My voice caught in my throat, my lips were unable to move. I mustered a weak groan that sounded like a cross between a frog's croak and a zombie's moan. But that was it. I thought I was dead. That this is what death feels like, being awake but unable to move or telling anyone. My mind wrestled with the idea of being placed in a coffin, unable to tell anyone I was still alive in there, unable to move or say anything as the lid closed and they put me in the ground, still alive. My fear subsided as I felt my heart thudding in my chest in response to my near panic attack. I also became aware of my breathing, which slowed as the fear subsided. I calmed a little, thinking it was just a dream. That's when I saw him for the first time. Mr. Brown Sticklegs. He huddled in the corner of my room by the closet. His two oversized red eyes glowed in the dark of my bedroom. His face was like a porcelain mask, white and expressionless, with no mouth or nose, only those two haunting red eyes. When he stood up, his body unfolded like origami until his head reached the ceiling. His neck bent, tilted forward as his true height grew greater than the height of my room. His long black torso was covered in shimmering symbols that reflected red in the light of his glowing eyes. He stood on two spindly thin legs that disappeared into the shadows of the room. He made no noise as he moved, seeming to glide as he hovered closer to my bed. His long, thin arms reached down to me as I moaned through paralyzed lips. I couldn't scream even though I very much wanted to. His fingers reached through the darkness down to my face. Two pointed fingers touched against my eyelids, pushing them closed. I remember his fingertips feeling cool, but not cold, even though the ends of his fingertips looked sharp. His touch was gentle. "Do not struggle, little one. Sleep, sleep," he said. His voice was so deep I could feel it in my chest when he spoke. I did as instructed, convincing myself that it indeed was a dream, even if it wasn't. The back of my eyelids were more reassuring than looking into the piercing red eyes and the vacant mask of a face. I closed my eyes, wanting it to be a dream, willing it to be a dream. I woke up the next morning, thankfully able to move, walk, and talk. I explained what I saw to my parents, who both agreed that it was just a dream. My mom tried floating the idea that something from Shrek 2 scared me, but neither my dad or I bought it. For confirmation, Dad asked that I draw a picture of what I saw for him. As I was drawing, I ran out of a black crayon and had to finish his legs in the next darkest color in my crayon box. "Hey there, Mr. Brownlegs," my dad said as I handed him the drawing. "You leave my daughter alone, you hear?" This is how my sleep paralysis demon ended up with the name Mr. Brownlegs. Giving him a silly name helped take some of the edge off going to bed the following night. My dad even did a sweep of the room calling out for him. "Here, Mr. Brownlegs," he said, whistling as if he were calling a dog. It made me giggle, and the whole episode felt a little bit more fun than scary. But once they tucked me in and turned off the light, I felt the dread creeping back in. Darkness hits harder than you expect when you find something lurking in the shadows. I don't know how long I searched, but eventually I fell asleep. In the weeks following, I searched for Mr. Brownlegs every night as I fell asleep. Even when I went to sleepovers, I would do a cursory check just in case he tagged along to my friend's house. As time passed, my searches became less frequent. It was a couple months later, the night before my last day of 5th grade, when I woke up, Mr. Brownlegs straddling over my bed, his empty plate of a face inches from my own. A scream stuck in my throat, coming out sounding like a gush of air releasing from a pool float. "Hush, child," he said. His voice was deep, yet echoless. I didn't know how he spoke without a mouth, but I heard him nonetheless. I saw that he held a piece of paper and his thin fingers crumpled at the edges and torn. He held it up to me. On the page was a pink blob, with blue dots for eyes and a droll red smile and stick lines for legs and arms. It was lying on a blue rectangle. "I found the picture you drew of me, so I drew a picture of you," he said. "Do you like it?" I said, nodding, but I couldn't move. I tried answering, but all that came out was the same dry croaking sound. "Will you draw another one for me? I so liked the first one. You gave me pants. I look good in pants." Again, I was unable to respond or move to give him an answer. He must have been able to read my intent because he tucked the picture under my pillow before closing my eyes again. When I woke up in the morning, I bolted upright and tossed my pillow off the bed. My heart leapt into my throat when I found the picture. It wasn't a dream, it was real. I went to my desk and began drawing a picture for him, starting with his face and eyes, trying to capture as much detail as I could remember. I'd forgotten all about the first day of school until my mom opened the door and found me still in my pajamas. "Lexi!" she yelled, startling me as I was coloring in his eyes. "Your bus is gonna be here in less than an hour! Get dressed now!" I tucked my picture into my school backpack and got dressed. I finished my drawing at recess that day using my brand new Crayola 64 pack that I got with my back to school supplies. I gave him blue pants this time, figuring he'd like to see himself in some jeans. I wrote his name, Mr. Brownlegs, at the bottom of the picture and drew a smiley face next to it. Hopefully he liked his nickname. I flipped the paper over to write him a message on the back. I wanted to ask him questions, but didn't want to anger him since he visited me when I was in my room at my most vulnerable. I wrote out my letter on a separate piece of paper before copying it to the back of my picture. "Dear Mr. Brownlegs," that's your name. "My name is Lexi. I'm in the 5th grade. What's your name? How old are you? Do you go to school? Why do you visit my bedroom? Why can't I move when you visit? You look scary, but also you seem nice. I hope we can be friends. Love, Lexi. P.S. I hope you like your blue pants." I added another smiley face at the end of my letter, my final emphasis on wanting to be friends. I considered closing with sincerely, but I figured love was better, a friendlier choice. I tucked the picture under my pillow that night, and now anxious to see him rather than filled with dread of his reappearance. But like the last time, he did not return the next day or the day after. The days stretched into weeks, and every morning I found the picture tucked under my pillow from the night before. It wasn't until Thanksgiving break that I saw him again. My eyes opened as the morning sun poked through the blinds in my bedroom. His body didn't look any different in the light, and in fact his black skin seemed darker, absorbing the sun's rays without giving anything back. His eyes seemed wider than before. If he had a mouth, I would have figured he would be smiling. In his slender fingers was the picture I drew for him. "Hello, Lexi," he said. "Thank you for the picture. I do look good in blue pants." I wanted to smile, but, well, sleep paralysis. He flipped the picture over to the other side with my letter. I will answer your questions the best I can. I do not have a name, and not one you could ever pronounce. But I'm happy for you to call me Mr. Brownlegs. As for my age, I exist outside the construct of time. Therefore, I am ageless. I do not go to school, nor do I know what school is. Why do I visit you? I visit to feed on the energy of your soul. My breath quickened as a mute groan exited my teeth. I wanted to run, wanted to get away from him, but I was pinned down, unable to move. He sensed my uneasiness and tried to calm me by patting my forehead. Let me explain. Have you been to the ocean? It appears vast, almost limitless as you stare out into the blue water, but no visible land on the other side. In my mind, I was standing on a beach. I felt the salty ocean breeze against my face as I looked out over the massive body of water. The waves crashed at my feet. I felt the rush of water over them, followed by the trickle of sand and pebbles as the water drew back. Your soul is like an ocean, vast and limitless, undefinable by words to your understanding. I take only a tiny sip, a single glass of water from a vast ocean. I'm not one who can consume an entire ocean. Alright everyone, that is going to end this one for today, as it seems as though I am all out of time. So I'll go ahead and get another one out to you very, very shortly. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much for listening today, and I'll see all of you again soon. Drive safe.